So now uh, Mughals are divided into two parts. So to study Mughals, first part is of early Mughals, and these Mughals are also called Great Mughals or Greater Mughals. Fine, and then there are later Mughals. From 1526 till 1707. Then from 1707 to 1857 or 58. This was the end of Mughal Empire, particularly 1858. So early Mughals, they are called Greater Mughals. During this time, Mughal Empire, it was Mughal Empire. So during this time, it became a dynasty. Fine. So uh, empire is a big one. Like a whole India was under one king. So it is an empire. So in dynasty, king is having limited power, king is having limited source of revenue, and is localized in its expansion. Fine. So during after 1707, Mughals were restricted to Delhi region only. So during that time, there was influence of European also. So Europeans came into the picture, and Europeans started dominating the picture in the time of later Mughals. So now for the time being, we will discuss first about early Mughals. Early Mughals or Great Mughals. Fine. So you can give the heading. First ruler was, yes.
Can you repeat, sir? I'll be joining you.
Okay, fine. So we are discussing about Mughals. Mughal dynasty. We started about Mughal dynasty yesterday also. Mughal dynasty time period is from 1526 till 1858. And this time period in itself is divided into two parts. The first part is from 1526 to 1707, and second part is from 1707 to 1858. And sometime so in some of the books you may find it written as 1857. So it can be interchanged, but exact time period is 1858 only. Fine. So these Mughals, during the time of early Mughals, Mughal dynasty was a great empire. It was an empire. Whole of India was under one king. Pan India rule was there during the time of Aurangzeb, not during the time of all the kings, but they were great kings. But during the time of later Mughals, Europeans came, and there was the influence of Europeans, Britishers, Portuguese also. So during this time, influence of a Mughal decreased, and ultimately they were eliminated from the scene. So in modern history, we will discuss from 1707 onwards, and we will study the influence of Britishers also during that time. So fine, I hope I am clear now. Yes. So okay, fine. Okay, fine. So Babur was the first ruler. So before discussing about Babur, just jot down few points, then we will discuss. So Babur was the ruler of, he was the ruler of Fargana province of Uzbekistan. Fargana province of Uzbekistan. And then he planned to attack India. So we have discussed that story. So something like this was like of like the map of India. This map is not the scale. So he invaded from this region. So a few Indian rulers only, they invited Babur to attack India, and he came to India and he defeated the last Lodi ruler. So then he captured Delhi region, and then started the Babur or Mughal dynasty. So he was a Turk. Write down, he was Turk. He was First, we will write a few important information, then we will discuss. So he was a 14th descendant. He was 14th descendant of Genghis Khan. Of Genghis Khan from his mother's side. And he was 15th, sorry, he was 5th descendant of Timur from father's side. And he was a scholar also. Babur was scholar. And he wrote his own autobiography. He wrote his autobiography. Name of that biography was Tuzuk-e Babari in Turkish language. Tuzuk-e Babari in Turkish language. Tuzuk-e Babari. And this book many times is also called Babanama. And later on this book was translated into Persian also. So its Persian version is called as Babanama. So you will find generally all those books which have Nama in their end. Nama in the end, those books are written in Persian. Generally it is the case. The exceptions can be there, but generally if Nama is there, so it is in Persian language. Fine. So in this book, Babar writes about India. So Babar writes about India. Babar writes about geography of India. Geography of India, that it is a very hot country. India is a hot country. And he also writes about flora and fauna of India during that time. And also about the people of India. He says that people of India are dirty people. Dirty, unclean people. Because water shortage was there in that area from where he came to India, Rajasthan region. Water shortage was there. So people used to bath very uncommonly. Frequency was low of bathing. So he says that in his biography. But he also adds one line that people of India are very lovable and very generous people. So he also praises the people of India that they are very generous, very kind and very lovable people. Fine. And he also writes about his contemporaries. So his contemporaries, he writes about first one, Ibrahim Lodi. Ibrahim Lodi was his contemporary. He writes in his biography. In his biography, this book, he has written all this information in this book, Babanama only. So about his contemporary, he writes, Ibrahim Lodi, that Ibrahim Lodi is a very worst ruler. He's very worst ruler and he never obeys the command of his commander-in-chief. So in army, although king might be going into the battlefield, but it is necessary for the king also to obey the command of commander-in-chief. So in battlefield, king is not the supreme one. So he has to obey the command of commander-in-chief. But this Ibrahim Lodi often negated the command of commander-in-chief of army. So he writes in his biography. Fine. And he also writes about Rana Sangha. We studied about Rana Sangha yesterday. Rana Sangha of Mewar. He writes that Rana Sangha is a very good warrior, very brave warrior. Third, he writes about Krishna Dev Raya. Krishna Dev Raya, R-A-Y-A. We will discuss about Krishna Dev Raya in Vijayanagara Empire. So although they never met, but he mentions something about Krishna Dev Raya, that there is a king in the south region and that king is very generous. Fine. Then he also writes about a teacher. He writes that there is a teacher in Punjab region, Talwandi region in Punjab. There is a teacher, and this teacher tells about good and ethical things. So who was that teacher? Guru Nanak Dev. So, ethical values, moral values. So once there was a question. In that question, statement was which of the following kings were, or which of the following were contemporary. One was Babar, another option was Krishnadev Raya, third one was Guru Nanak. So they all are contemporary. So you have to remember those kings who were of contemporary time. So in the previous classes also we have discussed. So you have to remember, if some king is ruling in the North India, then who was ruling in South India. So you have to understand history in the parallel time frame. So North India and South India you have to discuss, and you have to remember that if Delhi Sultanate is in the north region, then Bahmani kingdom or Vijayanagara Empire must be in the south region. Now we are discussing about Mughals. During the time of a Mughal, there will be emergence of Marathas in the southern region. So Marathas will be ruling there. So we will discuss about Marathas in the modern history. Fine. So let's go next. He also writes about his sons. He writes about his 4 sons. He was having 4 sons. No, Babur. बच्चों के बारे में. So he's writing. He writes about his 4 sons: Humayun, Kamran, Kamran, Askari, Askari, and last one Hindal, 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 Hindal. So he was very intelligent also, Babur. It is said that he used to read the face of a person and used to tell that what will happen with him in the future. And he also predicted his own son's future. He writes in his biography that my son can also lose the kingdom. Humayun can also lose the kingdom, because Humayun was of fun-loving nature. So he writes in his biography that my son can lose the kingdom, and we will see later on Humayun will lose his kingdom. Fine.